Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of In Defense of Fitness, where I, Pat Barber, go through videos that criticize and or critique and or just kind of say some interesting stuff about either CrossFit and or fitness and unpack them. In this video, we're going to talk, the video is called Why Does Mind Pump Not Like CrossFit? Now I'm going to bring the video in here. I actually don't know who Mind Pump is, but they've got quite a following, 554,000 subscribers. The fact that they say pump leads me to believe that they're involved in bodybuilding or some sort of figure stuff, which, as you may or may not know, that's not my jam. I don't like that. I also don't pay much attention to the larger fitness world, at least the social media fitness world. I pay attention to the conversation around performance and fitness and all that stuff, but I don't like to dig into the social media fitness space because I think oftentimes it's not worth my time. But that's why I don't know who they are. They might be super popular. Let's watch them, see what they have to say. I haven't watched it before. That's how I do these videos. So let's get on into it.
You want to find out why we don't like CrossFit? Listen to this.
Our next caller is Sarah from Idaho.
Okay, so clearly states they don't like CrossFit, and they're going to say why in this.
Hey, Sarah, how can we help you?
Hey, I love your podcast.
Thank you.
I've been a frequent listener for over a year now. Just a little history about me. I'm 48. I've been doing CrossFit for a couple of years now, but working out probably steadily for 15 years. I love weights. Weights is probably my favorite thing. But after doing CrossFit for 2 years, I feel like I'm not getting stronger doing the CrossFit workouts Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Weird.
Okay. So for context, this woman is saying that she has been doing fitness for 15 years. So she's got a background in doing some activity. She's been doing CrossFit for 2 years now. And what she said is she feels like she is not getting stronger just doing 3 days a week worth of training. And let's go ahead and hear how they unpack it.
Weird.
Each workout does have a strength portion, but you are only doing one thing, such as a deadlift or a bench press or a hang clean, etc. And then the workout of the day usually uses that strength in part of that with a much decreased weight. But I want to throw in some weight days, maybe on the days that I'm not doing.
Okay, so a couple things here. Let me let my dog out. She's a bit senile, so she likes to come in and out while I'm doing these videos. Anyway, there's a couple things here. One, she states, first off, I can tell by the guy's response where he's like, weird. He already has an opinion about what's going on here. Secondly, what she was saying is she says that every day there's a strength, which is actually not fundamentally how we should be programming CrossFit. CrossFit can have a strength lift or strength components on every day. But in general, if you're doing a strength metcon every day, that's not classically how we programmed things. The problem with doing that every single time you do a session is sessions are about an hour long, and to truly get a real strength stimulus, especially as you get stronger, which maybe she's stronger for her age and demographic and being, you need more time under tension for strength adaptation to occur. Now, my guess is she's actually still probably getting stronger. She doesn't sound trained enough to where this wouldn't be something that she could continue to see strength gains from. But my also guess is she's not given enough time to really put herself under that kind of tension. So they do a lift and they do a metcon every day, which doesn't give enough time for either of those two things to be done particularly well. So my guess is that she's not exposed to strength the numbers that she needs in order to start moving, if the truth is that she's actually not getting stronger, because she says I feel, and there's a difference between feeling and actually having data around that. And she may also need to be coached in order to go heavier, but that might not be given to her time-wise due to the nature of the sessions. But let's see what they say.
CrossFit, but I'm not sure about the programming, because some CrossFit days we're using multiple muscle sets. I don't want to overtrain, but I want to get stronger. I enjoy CrossFit. I know you guys sometimes talk badly about it, but I like it for the endurance it gives me.
So, oh gosh, there's a lot here. this idea that you would need to split up muscle sets in order to get strength is just fundamentally flawed and wrong. You don't hear this in almost any other domain. Like take, for instance, if you're a sprinter and you show up to the track and the coach is like, hey, we're running today, because that's what we do. We run. And then the next day you show up and the coach is like, hey, guess what? We're running today. And you're like, coach, but we ran yesterday. How can we run today? It's the same muscle group. We're not going to see strength gains here. And it's like, that's not how it works. In addition to that, like you're seeing a multitude of things work while you're running. You're getting bracing, you're getting hip extension, you're getting hip flexion, you're getting calf extension, you're using multiple muscle groups, and all of those are going to be improved. Now, if on those days you maybe involved some push-ups and stuff where you're doing more things, you would have an adaptation that's more holistic. And that's the nature with CrossFit, is you are using multiple muscle groups, but in every day and oftentimes repeatedly. But that's how you get stronger, is you fatigue them and then they get better. Now, what you could argue is that the generalized fatigue makes it so you won't get as localized strength gains because you are doing more of a general thing. But that's just due to the nature of the training, which is why we have to sprinkle in, probably 1 in every 3 to 4 days, strict specific strength days where we're doing one lift and we're hitting it really hard. And then over time, those gains will increase and we will be stronger across the board while also doing these other pieces. Now, she also talks about endurance here is what she likes getting CrossFit for. CrossFit doesn't give you the greatest long-term endurance, like when we're thinking like, hour, 2 hour, 3 hour events, because we don't go there very often. It does give you like more strength endurance, if that's what she's referencing, like the ability to do moderate to like closer to max loads for lots of reps, because we do a lot of that. And the reason you would want that is because that's kind of how life works, is we work in sprints and we work in like lifting something and carrying something and going around, which is why we train the way we do. But I'm very curious to see where they go here.
What would you suggest?
I want to be clear on the CrossFit thing, because we do tend to tease a lot about it. Like there's a lot of very positive things that CrossFit has brought to the fitness community, but your question is the reason why we don't like it, because most people have goals just like you have, or have specific things that they want to focus on, and that programming
is a better way to do it.
Yeah, there's a much
cool. So this is actually a fair point. If someone has a very specific goal, then a generalized program is potentially less ideal for them. Now, what I would say is one of the more insidious things within the fitness world is people don't stick to programs. They are not consistent. So no matter what their goal is, if they don't do it, they won't get their goal. A lot of people's goals tend to be around living a higher quality of life and being more fit, which is CrossFit's main focus. We get people that. Now, a great thing about that is we build so many hooks, and there's so much amazingness that the CrossFit program brings, is that people will stick to the program when they've never stuck to anything else, which is one of the biggest benefits. Now, what I will say though is he's correct. If you have a very specific goal, it might be more advantageous for you to do very specific training. Now, what I would argue is there is an argument to be made for a generalized level of fitness supporting any specificity. So if you want to specify in, say, football, or you want to be a better baseball player, you want to do stuff like, you need to go play that sport, you need to do sport-specific training. But being generally fit will allow you to apply yourself better to that, which is where we use CrossFit for sport-specific things. Now, if they're talking specific goals centered around physique, you may have a good, strong argument here of like, if your goal is only to have a certain type of physique, you would want to do just physique style training if you can stay consistent with it, which is different than our goal with CrossFit. But I would argue most people don't really know what they want. And I'm saying this as a person who's dealt with thousands of people. They come in saying they want something, but you say, why? Why do you want that? And they build it all the way back in, and it like comes back down to like, I want to feel confident in my life. It's like, okay, well, you having six-pack abs is not the thing that is going to make you confident in your life. Us working on why you feel like six-pack abs is the thing that makes you confident will do far more long-term impact than getting you six-pack abs per se. And honestly, the work that it took you to get there will do profound things to your psychology that allows you to have that level of confidence. So that's where I like there is an argument to be made what he's saying here, and I'm curious where he goes with it, if it's physique or otherwise. But why I still argue that CrossFit would be one of the best programs for most people to be doing.
Much better approach to achieve what you're looking for than following a group class that's very intensity based.
CrossFit gets you good at competing in CrossFit. Is that what you're trying to do?
Yeah. So this guy seems a bit more of a tool than the other guy, and I say that lovingly. CrossFit should get you better at living a higher quality of life, but it has been also turned into competing at CrossFit. And you should do CrossFit to get better at competing at CrossFit, but I would also say competing at CrossFit is sport specific, so there are necessities to doing different types of things to be better at competing at CrossFit, in addition to doing CrossFit. So, interesting.
No, I've been just competing in the game of life here.
Okay.
So
So there we go. That is a fantastic statement back. There is no better program for competing at the game of life than CrossFit. That's our entire goal, is to basically be able to say yes to life, to have fitness, which is the ability to have capacity and all the things you want to do in life. People have manipulated it into being a sport, and that's okay, but that's sport specific. It is not what the program of CrossFit is for, per se. It now assists with that, but this guy is probably going to explain his ignorance right now. Let's go ahead and see it.
This is the challenge, and I get it, by the way, Sarah. I understand this, but when I meet people who do CrossFit in your situation, not people who are trying to compete in the sport, but rather they're trying to improve their health and fitness and their strength, and they come to me, and it's almost like I'm talking to somebody that is in a dysfunctional relationship with a partner. It's like they come to me and they're like, hey, my husband throws dishes at me and calls me names, but
Stockholm syndrome.
But I love him.
We got I want to stay with him. So like, what? It's like, okay, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
You like
He still has my CDs.
Yeah.
I don't want to leave those.
I don't think, and I'm gonna. I hope I don't make you uncomfortable, Sarah, but I'm gonna call you out a little bit. I don't think you like the endurance of CrossFit. I think you like the fact that you get beat up in your workouts. I think you like the sweat and the pain.
Okay. He's equating CrossFit to an abusive relationship, and my guess is he's equating that in the sense that people are staying with something because they enjoy a part of it and they don't know who they'd be without it. And there is very much a sense of a relationship when you find something that works for you to give you something that you want, and which is a lot of people, they get that from CrossFit. But then they don't understand why they're doing it per se, and they couldn't articulate that because they're not very well educated in what CrossFit is or why it's doing what it's doing. Now, if I were to have this conversation with the guy, it'd be a different conversation. But she, I'm guessing, is going to maybe push back here, maybe agree with it. There is also something to be said for what he just said there was like, you like the being beat up part of it. Yeah, man, that's how dopamine is released, is when you do something difficult intentionally, and then afterwards your body releases dopamine. Like, you get a physiological benefit from that. Now, coupled with that, there are physiological changes and psychological changes and neurological changes that happen from doing intense exercise. They're all fantastic. And we've known this for a long time. When we work anaerobically, the positive benefits are massive. It doesn't mean we only do that in CrossFit, but even what he's saying here carries with it some inherent truth, but he's mocking it as though it's a really bad thing, rather than understanding that there is profound adaptation to be had there. And that's one of the hooks that I talked about earlier, is that you come back to do difficult things that beat you up, but they don't hurt you. What she's saying here, or what he's associating with it, is hurt, like pain, being dishes thrown at you. No. You're intentionally facing physical difficulty so that your body adapts and gets better. That's the nature of training, big guy. And that's why we do it. Now, is CrossFit more painful than a lot of other programs? Yes, because we work anaerobically more often. But there's benefit in doing so. But we also have days where we don't. Now, you can listen to other people talk about it who are intelligent that speak about the difficulty of CrossFit, but don't belittle it the same way he does. Now, strength training is inherently difficult, but it is not the same kind of pain. Yeah, there's a lot here, but he's clearly got his own understanding of it.
Is that be honest, is that the deal?
I mean, I do like that. I call myself kind of an endurance ADD person.
Yeah.
I don't like to just go out and run. I don't like to just go out and bike. I like to do something different every time.
Yeah. So, and because here's why. You're probably not gaining any more endurance.
So he asked her a question. She said yes, that she enjoys this. And I think part of it would be like, that's awesome that you enjoy it. Let's see if you're actually getting what you want from it. Maybe that's what he's saying here, because she is using the term endurance, but I don't think she's understanding it. I think she's kind of saying it like endurance, like ability to, not breathe hard for long standing events. But like I said before, a lot of CrossFit gives you more strength endurance, like medium to short term capacity, while carrying over into long term endurance. But like she said, she likes not doing one thing. She likes doing a bunch of different things. I've got my dogs all breaking in right here and my child. I apologize. But she's expressing her enjoyment for this, and consistency in doing it is the most. Now, she mentioned earlier overtraining. Most people are not overtraining, and not even in danger of overtraining. And if she's only training 3 to 4 days a week, she's not in danger of overtraining. That's not a thing for her. Hey, buddy, I can't talk to you right now. I'm working, hun. Okay? So let's see where he goes with this.
Endurance or strength at this point. The CrossFit program, it's different from place to place and different with different coaches. Some coaches are good, but generally speaking, unless you're going to compete in an event that is CrossFit, there's not a lot of value in comparison to better programmed workouts. So if you like it,
I'd love to know what he means by better programmed workouts, because I would, to some degree, agree with him on the doing a strength Metcon every day is not as ideal as doing just Metcon some days and just strength other days, and then occasionally throw in a strength Metcon. But I'm curious what he means by better programs and for what purpose, because when it comes to elevating fitness levels, like a capacity to do what she's saying, which is say to tackle life and to compete in life, there is not a better program for achieving change, adaptation on a physiological and psychological level than CrossFit. There are sport-specific style programs that work really well and better than CrossFit for that, but I don't know what he's talking about here. Tell me another program that does that.
like
better.
endurance, I can give you a program that'll give you better endurance. If you like strength, I can give you a program that's going to give you better strength. If you like to beat the crap out of yourself, I think you should stick to CrossFit.
Okay, so his two examples there were actually really interesting. If you like endurance, I can give you a better program for endurance. Probably, because it's one thing, one component of fitness. She's not saying she just wants that. She does say, I love endurance, but she's not saying for that. She said for life, she wants to be able to tackle life, to compete in life. In life, you don't need just endurance. You also don't need just strength, which he's saying that he's got better programs for. You need to be able to tackle life with basically say yes to anything. Can you have endurance while also being strong? And there is no better program for that than CrossFit. And then he just equates it to like beating a crap out of yourself.
So,
CrossFit.
so these are the things that you want to ask yourself. So if you're looking for better stamina and strength, and you like that athletic functional aspect, and you said you have that endurance ADD, which
Yes.
I get that as
Maps
well.
performance all day.
We're going to go MAPS performance or MAPS strong. MAPS strong or MAPS performance. You're going to have fun. It's different. It gives you.
Okay, so they've got programs that they're slaying in here. So these might actually, MAPS Performance sounds like it would be something that would be more generalized, where it would have like both sides of the spectrum. But my guess is they would do classic strength and conditioning splits, where they would do periodized training that really kind of focused on using similar movement patterns and similar rep schemes to then build up and get you, progressively more fit, which is how classic strength and conditioning works. And it works. That's a fine way to do it. But you would not be doing this in a gym with a bunch of other people and all those other kinds of things. And it doesn't work better than CrossFit. That's the thing that's hard for me. Like objectively speaking, there are more people who have come into CrossFit with little to no performance and walked out of it with the best versions of themselves that have ever existed in their lives compared to this MAPS performance stuff. It's cool that they're helping people. I'm not taking anything away from that. And they have these programs, but there's actually no need to belittle another program when you don't understand it. I think these programs might be fantastic programs, but that doesn't take away from the quality of what CrossFit offers when it comes to living higher qualities of life. And the uniqueness of the gyms that you can do it in, the coaches who care about it and are passionate about it, and the lifestyle that's associated with it, with matching all of those other things.
Gives you some of those components, but you're going to improve. You're not just going to have hard workouts. You're going to see your strength go up. You're going to see your endurance and stamina improve. You're going to feel good. It's not going to feel like you're teetering on the edge of overtraining like you may be feeling right now.
Yeah.
She didn't say that she was feeling like she was on the edge of overtraining. She said that she was worried about overtraining. And she probably worried about overtraining because she listens to podcasts, because it sounds like she listens to you guys and a few other things, because it's a commonly spoke about thing that like, you're going to overtrain. Well, it's like, dude, the vast majority of human beings are not overtraining. Vast majority. People who are addicted to fitness, who train like 7 days a week, even those people, we might be like, okay, a lot of these guys are probably not pushing their physiological threshold to its actual limit. Overtraining is retrograde performance, when you start to see negative gains. And maybe she's there, but for the vast majority of people, that's not a thing. And by doing CrossFit 3 or 4 days a week, I'm going to guarantee you it is impossible for you to overtrain. You have 1 hour, you have 10-minute workouts, you do a couple things in there. It's just not possible.
Honestly, mass performance was like our answer to a lot of, it was actually a good transition for me with a lot of CrossFit clients that I used to have, where we would take them through actual functional strength type exercises. And I know that's a lot of the appeal of it, is that you're moving in a lot of different directions. It's fun because it's almost like you don't really know what to expect.
Challenging.
Yeah. And you're in a group environment, you kind of feed off of everybody. So I totally get, what they're trying to do with that. And they did a masterful job of making it like a community experience.
So this gentleman's seeing some of the value in it. He's seeing some of those other pieces. I would also argue he probably doesn't understand how it's programmed well, because he's probably just seen it from the outside and not come to a level one, not experienced it. But I'd love to have the conversation if you ever wanted to.
In terms of like you progressing forward and getting strong, we have to be specific. And this is where, good.
But we don't have to be specific, because the only reason you would have to be specific is if you had a specific goal, like just one. Because we don't want to just be strong. We want to be strong in all the other areas. We want to be gymnastically strong. We want to have endurance strength, like the strength to lift our legs up and do that kind of stuff. And the funny thing is you don't need to isolate these out. I've seen it. I mean, you can point to it anecdotally, but you can also look at it studies-wise within the CrossFit space. The number of people who are stronger in all metrics, forms of themselves, who have better endurance strength, who have better gymnastic strength, who have better, weightlifting strength, and they have just done CrossFit where it's varied and wholesome and the whole thing. Like, I can speak to myself. Like, I've never done a periodized strength program. And again, I'm a sample size of one. I've said this before on here. I'm a 5'7" man. I weigh 175 pounds. I've been this way for a long time. From just doing CrossFit, literally one workout a day, went from like a 1 rep max deadlift of like 300 pounds, 315, I think was my first time ever deadlifting. I got that and it looked like garbage. And I pulled 525 at the games while simultaneously having a 2-minute Fran. And it was just through continued exposure to all these things. Now, what you might not see is just your strength numbers increase as fast as if you were just doing a strength program. That might not happen. I want to argue, though, it often does at the same speed. And I don't have the studies to back that, but I've watched it time and time again. People who will leave CrossFit to go do strength training specific stuff. They'll go, I'm going to be an Oli lifter now. I'm going to be a power lifter now. And they go and they have these like mediocre gains. They'll have like a pound a year, a pound and a half, like blah, blah, blah. And they'll be at their stuff. They come back to doing more generalized fitness and have these 5-10 pound jumps. And you're like, what just happened? Why did that work? And I couldn't tell you exactly why, but being more well-rounded and doing a variety of things often elevates individual spaces. Now, for most people, it happens really fast. Then you stall out because you reach your kind of basic potential, and then it takes slower gains, but you're having slow gains across the board rather than slow gains in one area. It's fascinating how it works.
Good programming actually changes all that up for you. So it really is just going to revolve around whether or not, you're comfortable enough to step outside and do something that's, maybe outside of that environment.
Yeah. Sarah, I'm going to make a deal.
But outside of that environment. So what he's kind of saying is outside of the fun of the community and all those other things, kind of like what I alluded to earlier is like there's so many other hooks in CrossFit that keep people consistent, and consistency is the more important thing. But he is not wrong that there could be specialized programs that will be more advantageous to you to have very specific goals happen. And I don't know how much more advantageous. I'm talking like you'll maybe gain 10 pounds of strength instead of 7 pounds of strength. It's not a huge difference. It's just there's clearly, just like there's a bias for me on my CrossFit side, there's a bias for these guys in their strength side.
Make a deal with you, okay? You can say no.
All right, okay.
You don't have to say yes. You can say no. If you promise to do what I'm about to tell you to do for at least 5 weeks, what I will give you is I'm going to give you MAPS Performance, MAPS Strong, and I'm going to give you MAPS Prime because I want to make sure that you prime properly so that you don't get injuries and maybe correct some imbalances you might have developed following the CrossFit programming.
Okay. So he's going to promise her free programs and tell her to do a very specific thing for a period of time. Is she going to improve? Sure. Yeah, she will. But here's what's going to happen too. She's got MAPS Prime, so that's one program. It's a primer, so it's a good warm up. It's sounding like so you've got some skills like some micro movements and imbalances, and you're working on that. So there's a lot of time that's going to be involved. It's going to be boring as shit because that's how those programs are. She's going to do it. MAPS Strong. So there's going to be some strength component, but it's going to be a linear progression. It's going to be periodized, and it's going to be in such a way where she's going to see progressive gains over a period of time. And then MAPS Performance, which is going to, and I hope that he's saying all of these intertwine with each other and make sense, because it doesn't, if they don't, like linear programs that are not made to work with each other when laid on top of each other don't work as well as just a varied program that has a long-term intention of being varied. So it becomes even more overused stuff in certain areas. But it sounds like he understands this. So it's they probably work well with each other. But I guarantee you this is going to be more boring than what she does. It's going to be more individual because she's going to do it on her own, and she's going to need to have self-motivation for this, and it's going to be less varied than what she's used to. So she's not going to be exposed to the same number of things. And unless she's a type of person who's, and maybe she is because she's worked out for 15 years, super self-driven, it'll be something she falls off of because of those other factors. And it won't be that much more beneficial to her unless, she's got a terrible coach and she's overloading and all that kind of stuff, which is not the case in most gyms. But I don't think he understands that. And I think he's just biased against his perception of CrossFit. It's what it is, though.
Is that a deal? Would you take that deal?
I would take that deal.
All right, done. Done. I'm going to give you all 3 of those. Okay, so I never give away 3 programs. I always give away just one. So I'm going to give you all 3. Just start with MAPS Performance, okay? Do the first 5 weeks. If you don't like it, go back to what you were doing before. But if you like it, stick with MAPS Performance. Then follow MAPS Strong after that. The entire time you're following both, make sure you prime properly. You'll get that out of MAPS Prime.
Got it. So just like I thought. So he's not going to ask her to do all of them. He's giving them all 3 because it feels like a more generous offer. She's going to do this generalized program that's going to basically probably feel like CrossFit with a warm up there, but she's going to do it on her own. And then she's going to be doing a strength specific one, which is that strong one, which is going to push adaptation in that area. It's just going back to kind of like a classic strength conditioning where you're looking to build conditioning separate from strength and just focus on the strength and do the strength. And this is not, this type of stuff works. Nobody's arguing that this doesn't work, but it doesn't work better than CrossFit at achieving a well-rounded athlete. Show me the vast majority of people who are better and more well-rounded than the than the multitudes of individuals that do CrossFit. Even when you talk about like CrossFit competition, let's incorporate that in here. These people who do CrossFit competition, it should be like you can look at them and say those people are kind of gnarly. They're pretty strong and they have this crazy capacity in these other areas. This type of program will not get you good at that. And that is probably the best expression of being able to tackle life well, which is why there is still value of CrossFit. Anyway, or CrossFit competition, I should say.
It'll teach you how to do that. And I bet you're going to be blown away. I bet you're going to be like, wow, I didn't know what I was missing.
The one tiny thing
I think that's great.
The one tiny thing I want to add, because I've also trained a lot of clients that loved CrossFit and then I ended up coaching, is because it creates this competitive environment and this kind of go-go mentality. Make sure you're following the program as laid out, right? So you'll notice that we have tempo in there. We have rest periods built in there. And so follow the rest periods as we've programmed them, because that's just as important to the exercise
It's
selection.
a part of the programming.
So and CrossFit clients of mine have this tendency to kind of go, and they just want to see how much they can do, how fast they can do it, and how much they can get out in that time. And because I know a lot of it's designed that way, where that's not how I want you to train.
Okay, yes and no. So I totally agree with what he's saying. CrossFitters tend to be go, because they feel like they can tackle it. And a lot of strength and conditioning is do a set, rest, because the idea is that you're giving your body time to rest. And then from there, you then need to push, like you have this kind of work rest interval built into things. And when you push, you're using a certain amount of your overall ability, and based off of percentages and reps, you're fatiguing muscles and then giving them time to recover and then trying that again. So you have optimal balance there and you can maximize strength or whatever it might be. We don't design our program to not be like that. We just often make people do things under fatigue, which might change the in the moment muscle adaptation. Like we're not getting maximally the amount of growth we possibly could, but it's not about a single session. It's about many, many sessions over time. Now, this might be why we don't see people in CrossFit who have just like the gnarliest, biggest shoulders and all the kind of stuff like that. I mean, a lot of them do, but it's not just for size. So when you're going just for size, that depletion of the muscle and then that regeneration or the rest and then the recovery is going to be something that's important. Also, when you're going for like max output from a system, you're going to want to have ideal rest periods built in, just like the tempos he's talking about and the sets and the rest. Like these are important parts of training and they should be built into a good CrossFit program, but we still will be doing Metcons. We still will be doing stuff under fatigue because we see value in that, because that's often how life works, is like we're doing stuff under fatigue, just as the nature of things.
I want you to get adequate rest in certain phases. You have short.
When you're doing their program, absolutely follow the tempos and stuff because it's built to do that. It's not discounting that you shouldn't do this. It's just saying that we don't build it into our program to go. It's just we often do stuff under fatigue, so we're willing to go. And oftentimes, actually, in CrossFit, when I'm doing strength days, I have to tell people to slow down because they don't know how to go heavy. They don't know how to go there. And in fact, that is another one of the problems with strength Metcons is when you put both in the same session all the time, you don't have enough time to take the strength seriously. So people are rushing through it trying to get it done, which is why a girl like her might not ever be getting to the loads she needs to see the adaptation, which is another reason why we shouldn't be doing that as our main program.
You have shorter rest periods. Certain phases in our programs, you have longer rest periods. And the idea is that when you're in that phase, you stick to it. There's science behind.
Yeah, you have longer rest periods because you're likely lifting closer to maximal loads, which then allows you to hit that maximal load again, which would cause a different adaptation.
Why we programmed it that way, and you will benefit from it if you stay true to it. And there'll come a time when you'll be standing there between sets and you'll be like, oh, I'm bored, or this is easy.
I could be doing like 5 things right now.
Yeah, I could do this now, or I could do that. And you need to fight that urge to want to go right back at it just because you feel.
That is real. So that's especially real when you're transitioning from a program that moves a lot to a program where you're doing heavy stuff. Like you need to train yourself in how to go heavy, and a lot of that time you'll be pulling off the reins. You'll be being like, whoa, I need to relax in between these so I can actually go hit this thing again. Now, eventually, what he's probably going to say here, and maybe not, but eventually what will happen is you'll start to hit real loads to where you'll recognize and value that rest. In addition to that, I mean, there's a lot of benefit to things like when you go do endurance specific work, where you're hitting very specific aerobic thresholds and kind of hanging out in certain areas rather than going into this anaerobic place where you're working with and producing ATP without the use of oxygen, which is what we do so often in CrossFit that you become accustomed to it. So you don't feel like you're working when you're just doing aerobic work because you're like, this is too easy, but it's super valuable to do in times and things that we should be doing in a good CrossFit program too. So he's saying all correct stuff.
Feel like you can. You need to follow the programming, give your body that adequate rest, and then go at it again. That's my one thing that I want to add to this.
Advice.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Sarah. Is there anything else?
That's it. I will definitely try this for 5 weeks and we'll see where we get.
Hell yeah. And please check in with us.
Check back with us.
Let us know what happens.
All
I think
right.
I know what you're going to say, but do it anyway.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks, Sarah. Yeah, the dysfunctional relationship people have sometimes with CrossFit is so
I love
funny.
that you called her out on that.
Well, how many times have you heard that?
It's every time.
Yeah, I want to get stronger, but I like the performance aspects. I'm like, was your performance improving? Well, no. Okay, what you actually like is the beat up part.
Yeah, this is purely a projection on his part, because I want him to show me data on this. Let's get 100 people. Let's get them to all write down their workouts. Let's get them to all test and retest and do all these things. Like it's pretty easy to see that CrossFit continues to support change, positive physiological change. You're not like these things that he's saying, like there are people who feel like they're not improving, but oftentimes those people are dissatisfied with many other things in life. And it's just a feeling that they have, and they're projecting it onto whatever situation that they're in, or they listen to someone like this, like an expert in the field talking about, oh, you're not going to get stronger. And they're like, well, am I not getting stronger? And then they go to lift and they're like, I only got a 2-pound PR. The funny part is, like, I bet you if he saw some of the numbers from people and how they change and adapt while doing CrossFit, he'd actually be quite amazed because it's profound. It's kind of wild to watch, especially with untrained people. But even when you get into trained people, good generalized programs, you see these successes for so long. And it doesn't quite make sense based off of you just have so much change in so many areas over so much time and it's just continuous if people are paying attention to what they're doing, especially if they're writing it down. And you'll see years that go by where there's like not a single metric working backwards if people are consistent. But anyway, it sounds like he's got his bias.
Well, the other thing that we call someone like that is cortisol junkies.
Of course.
Yeah, they just love that adrenaline rush, and she kind of alluded to being somebody like this, where she probably needs to kind of get after like that to feel the same thing, which is why I gave the advice I did, because I know.
So he's not wrong here either. There are people who are very addicted to that feeling of stress and that, like you said, a cortisol junkie. And you can be addicted to the sweat, or you can be addicted to all these other stuff. The same way you can be addicted to any sort of physical activity or anything in general that stimulates a dopamine response. And there are people who need to pull back, but the vast majority of people do not. The vast majority of people have no idea how to go hard. Even in CrossFit gyms, I'll see them and I'll watch them and I'll be like, you don't even go hard. It's like most people don't go too hard. Now, the ones that go and they vomit, or the ones that are constantly hurting themselves, or they're in there 7 days a week and things like that, it's like, or the ones that come in with a big old chip on their shoulder and a giant ego, those are the ones you got to knock down. But the vast majority of people do not. But there are people who are
I know that same person has a real fucking hard time sitting for 90 seconds before the next set. It just feels like an eternity for that person. And if she disregards that and goes right into it, then she's going to lose a lot of the benefits of the program.
Otherwise, we're just completely going into like cardio with weights.
Yeah,
and we got to eliminate that.
What I've even told people who had a really hard challenge with this is I would say, okay, fine, here's what we're going to do then. we're going to follow good programming for resistance training. And then on these other days, you like that competitive, whatever, let's find something, rock climbing or, parkour or, like do something that
start a rec league and go speed.
Yeah. Like that, where you, that's a part of what you're doing, but don't apply it to your exercise programming, because then it just becomes all about the pain, and you'll get away with that for a certain period of time. But at some point your body's going to rebel.
Now I do.
No. Dude, the point of all of this is that you're at your own personal physical and psychological threshold, and there will be a time where you don't want to go as hard, but that would be you hitting your psychological threshold and you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. So you don't do it. And you pull back and you hit stuff softer, but then you accept that your physiology won't change quite the same way. And that's okay. And on good CrossFit programming, which he clearly doesn't understand, you should be having varied intensity days. You should be having days that are long and slow, and days that are just heavy, and days that are shorter, and days that are longer. And there are plenty of days that are Metcons that feel quite painful, but even within those, the choices that you make vastly change the adaptation that you get, both physically and psychologically. It's just a fundamental misunderstanding of what we do, again, but just this time from kind of intelligent people. The other three in this podcast seem to be a little bit more articulate. This guy just seems like he's a bit high level of emotion. Now, what I would say too is these guys, the thing they have in the back, they're very sports oriented. They probably, they feel like, to me, they feel like sports performance. And that's okay. Like, sports performance is awesome, but people who work in the sports performance world don't work with normal people as much. They tend to work with athletes, and understanding that the biggest problem that normal people face is consistency. And they just aren't consistent. They don't find anything they enjoy. So the second that they start liking something, don't start prescribing them stuff that's boring and lame. Like, keep it with the stuff that they like, especially if that's achieving high levels of adaptation and allowing them to go hard on the days. There's very few people who actually go too hard and hurt themselves, relative to the number of people who do it. And oftentimes that speaks to their own level of psychosis around ego and, the care they're taking outside of the gym. And the same number of people and the same type of person will hurt themselves doing almost any program. And I'm not completely dismissing our responsibility as CrossFitters to take care of those people. I'm just saying, I
do want to add something too. If she's listening to this, hopefully she goes back and listens to our response after the call. You gave her performance and strong, which I think is a very smart transition because it's going to appeal to her the most, and that's hopefully we win her over. But I would follow that up with MAPS anabolic, right? So I would like to see her go performance, strong, and then I would want to take her. And hopefully I have in
I'm
performance.
Trying to get her. I'm trying to win her first.
I know what you're doing. Yeah. And so I'm hoping that I win her over in performance and strong like you did. Like, now she trusts us. Oh my God, I got stronger. I feel amazing. She's going to see all these great results. Then now that she has our trust, I say, okay, now you're going to follow anabolic. And you're going to have way less volume. You're only going to train 3 days a week. Like,
you're going to rest a lot more and just focus on strength.
Yeah, or power lift even, right? So I'd like her to go to power lift or anabolic. So if you're listening and you trust the process and you see the great results that you should see if you follow it, go performance, go strong, and then jump back to anabolic and or power lift direction. That's where I'd go.
I'm wondering, I'm going to look it up here. Let's see, anabolic mind. Maybe they have a link down here. Let's see what their anabolic promo is all about. Free resources and guide, content themes. Let me see what mind pump anabolic. All right. What is anabolic? So, building muscle is the natural result of an adaptive response that only takes place when the body is signaled to adapt. Yeah. You put stressors on it and it changes. Okay. So let's see what anabolic is. So anabolic, their program, it's a muscle building program. Okay. So muscle building is great. Mini cycles. What is about this program that is different? Okay. So it looks like this program is about physique. It looks like the main focus of anabolic is to do muscle building exercises that build physique. And I think I can bring this in here further. Maybe I can't. But that is what I'm seeing as I look at it. So it's their anabolic program is about building physique, and you don't need to do. I hope it's coupled with diet, because that would be the way a body would change. But it's probably doing perfect kind of classic bodybuilding splits in order to achieve physique changes, which is very different than fitness changes. Very different in the sense that you pursue very different things and you train very differently. But with fitness changes, you tend to see physique changes, not maybe as localized as you do with physique workouts, but it's definitely not the other way around. You don't feel more capable. You aren't more endurance, like she said she loved, when you do anabolic stuff. I think their focus might be more physique oriented, which maybe they believe that that's the best way to, maybe they believe that that's the reason to train. I fundamentally don't. And what she said is she looks to tackle life. So I think she's doing the right program for her. She might just need to talk to the gym about either spending more time doing strength, adding some strength outside that if she doesn't have that community or she doesn't have a gym that supports that. But there's a lot there. They don't seem like bad guys. They seem like they have intention that is good, but they also seem like they don't understand CrossFit, and that's okay. They understand what they've seen of CrossFit, but they don't understand it. Anywho, that's another In Defense of Fitness. Hope you enjoyed it. Talk again soon.